let's see what vegetables we are going to plant in mid-June from seed. There's still time. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Kim. We are in the middle of June and there are still quite a few things that I am going to plant today. So I've already harvested first rounds of vegetables. So a lot of my brassicas I've already harvested. So I've been harvesting broccoli and kohlrabi and cauliflower and all of those things. That's what I've been working on. I've even harvested my first round of onion. And since I've been harvesting some of those things, I have empty spaces in my garden, and there are things that I can still plant from seed and still get a harvest this year. And so I wanted to share with you some of those things that I'm going to plant from seed today. Now it's super hot outside today, so I needed to find a shady area to share with you those vegetables that we're going to plant from seed in mid-June. So we are going to plant more Korean radish, and I will also put a picture just up to the side here. Now, Korean radish, and I've harvested a few heads of that, and it's so sweet and delicious. You can use it for kimchi. You can use it to just chop it up and eat for fresh eating. It's sweeter than a Japanese daikon radish, but it's similar to the daikon radish from a Japanese standpoint. But these are Korean radishes, and it's really a spring and fall type plant, right? It doesn't like that super hot weather, but I'm going to plant it in a location that is protected from that evening sun. And so it'll get morning sun about midday, but when that super hot sun in the evening comes, it'll be in the shade. So I'm hoping I can get some more Korean radish. It's almost time for me to take out my peas. My peas are a cool season crop as well, and those peas are going to come out, and I'm hoping, and I've never been able to get a really good harvest, but I'm going to plant sugar baby watermelon. And sugar baby watermelon, it says days to maturity is 75. And I still have at least 75 days in my garden. And I'm going to go ahead and plant them now and have them starting to sprout and germinate and everything while I'm finishing off those peas. And so then I'll pull the peas out, and hopefully I'll have these watermelon growing, and then they will take over the trellis that the peas are on right now. I am also going to plant several different types of greens. And again, most of my greens don't like that super hot weather, so I'm going to plant them in places where I think there's going to be a little more protection from the really hot sun. And if I have to, I do have some shade cloth that I can use to try to get the most that I can this year. So I'm going to plant more turnip greens, purple top white globe turnip greens. Here's a picture to the side of it over here what a turnip green is. I'm also going to plant the 7-top turnip green, and it looks just like the purple top white globe turnip green. I'm also going to plant some mustard greens, and all of these most likely I'm going to plant in the same place. Over at my neighbor's, I had a garden bed full of them, and I planted them too densely, and they just kind of stunted each other's growth, and then nobody watered and they died. So I pulled them all up, and we're going to start that bed over. And I'm also going to put some fencing around it to keep that little critter, that pesky rabbit, out. I'm also going to plant some beans, and there's a couple of different varieties of beans I'm going to plant. So one of them is Landreth. This Landreth bean here is 55 days to maturity. So we have plenty of time to get a bush bean now. I'm also planting, there's contender right there. And the reason why I'm planting so many beans is because my wonderful pet rabbit, which I'm gonna have to start calling it a pet rabbit because for whatever reason this rabbit thinks it's my pet, decided to really chow down on all of my beans this year. So I'm planting as many bush beans as I can to make up the difference. So contender and landrath are two green beans that I'm planting. And I'm also going to plant some more dragon tongue. Dragon tongue beans I have growing over at the neighbors, but I'm going to put a few of them over in my main garden as well. And again, plenty of time for beans to be planted. Now, dragon tongue beans has a very, very good flavor to them, but when you cook them, they're going to turn green. So this beautiful striped color won't last once you cook them. I have one other place in my garden that I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to put in that spot. So I am going to plant these round squash. It's a summer squash. And we're going to plant this round summer squash in that one spot. So there's plenty of time for cucumbers, squash, beans, what else? I mean, pretty much right now, I can still plant anything in my garden. I'm mid-June. I mean, unless I'm trying to plant like a winter squash or what else? That's about it. I mean, I still can start potatoes. I've already harvested a few containers of potatoes over the last week or so, and I've already replanted those containers. So I am still starting potatoes as well. So we got a lot to get in the ground. And I have some collard greens that I am going to transplant. Now, I have them growing too close in one of my green stalks, and so I am going to thin those collard greens out, and I'm going to move those to another area so I can grow even more collard greens. Mid-June is not too late. You can still grow a ton of food in mid-June. It's probably a little too late for your cool season crops like broccoli and cauliflower and those type things. But in just a few months, we will be starting the seeds so we can start those in the fall. But for now, we got to keep this summer garden going, and we don't want any spaces in the garden because we want to make sure that we're getting at least a year's supply of food and enough food to share with my family and friends. So let's get to it. So I am dealing with a rabbit this year. So I have bought some fencing to kind of raise the sides of my beds up to try to keep the rabbit away from anything that I'm putting in the ground that seems to be the vegetable of choice, which are beans. In this bed here, I've already put fertilizer in. I've already used the square foot garden method, and I've already put my little holes in of where I'm going to drop all of these beans in here. And I'm in the sun. It's hot out here. I usually don't like to plant when it's super hot. Definitely, I don't like to transplant when it's super hot. So we won't be doing the transplanting right now, but we can put these beans in the ground. So this is where I had onion that we just harvested, and we are replacing these onion with beans. I used my organic fertilizer and kind of just top this soil off here. I didn't turn the soil or anything like that. I just put the organic fertilizer on it. A granular organic fertilizer is what I added. And one of the reasons I did that is that onions are very heavy feeders. So I'm sure the onion pulled a lot of nutrition from the ground. So I want to make sure I get that nutrition back into the ground. Now, contender is not one of my favorite beans. I mean, it's okay, but it's not my favorite. But that's what we have because my favorite beans keep getting eaten up by that pesky rabbit. But now I got this fencing around here, which hopefully will give these beans a chance to survive the rabbit. So even my camera's not crazy about this super hot weather. So I've already watered this soil in really, really good, and I am going to top it off So my beans are about, I don't know, an inch deep. And instead of disturbing the soil here, I'm going to add some Happy Frog to the top of it to cover the beans, which I didn't have to do, but I just have some, and I didn't add any soil this year to this bed. This is all soil from last year and the year before and that kind of stuff. It's been fertilized many times, amended many times, but I figured some fresh Happy Frog to cover them up would be a nice treat for these beans. There's already drip irrigation in here as well. So everything that's needed for these beans are right here. And these beans are going to be happy really quick. And it's going to be super hot. So we got to make sure we keep the soil nice and moist so that these beans can germinate. Beans typically like to germinate in less than, I think, 85-degree weather. And in the next 10 days, I'm going to be 95 plus. So I think it's going to be super important to water these in and hopefully get them germinating before that super, super hot weather gets here. At least that's our goal. So let's move on to some of those other things that we're going to get started today. In this space right here, I had cauliflower, and I've removed all of the cauliflower except for a teeny little head that's behind me. And I want to use this space for something else. So the first thing I'm going to do, which I thought I had already done, woo, get rid of these weeds and trees. There's always a tree growing somewhere in my garden. Now in this space, I left the roots to the cauliflower in the bed. So we will let it die back in the bed and put that nutrition back into the bed. I am still harvesting from my broccoli, but I'm getting side shoots from the broccoli. And now it's time for us to figure out what else can we put in this bed. So I have room right here in the front, and we are going to add the squash right here. Now, squash usually needs a little room to grow. And so I figured I can put the squash right here. As it starts growing and spreading, I can always let it grow out this way into the yard to give it just a little more room. I don't want to plant it too close in that direction because then it'll get in the way of the strawberries, and I don't want it interfering with the strawberries as I'm trying to turn the GreenStalk planter. So we will just do one spot right here, about halfway from the end of the bed to the one cauliflower that I got left over here. I'm going to put in 3 seeds. I usually thin to 1 or 2 if I think about it. I don't always do that though. I'm covering them up. And I did fertilize this whole bed earlier. It's in there, and I'm going to leave it uncovered just a little bit so I know where I planted it. But once it comes up, I'll add some of this straw around the roots a little better so that we can insulate those roots. But that squash is in, and it's a round zucchini, and it's actually really, really good. So we've added one there. Let's move over to another bed and plant some watermelon seeds. There's a lot going on in this bed right here. So this is a metal raised bed. It's 17 inches tall. In the very front, I have carrots growing, and they are super happy and healthy. And in the middle here, I have different types of herbs. So there's rosemary, there's some sage, I have some chives right there. Way back down there, there's some thyme. I also have some ground cherries growing. The ground cherries are looking good. But in the back, across the back on this trellis, I have sweet peas. And they're getting really close to the end of their life. So I am going to place some seeds in the back there. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 seeds back there. So there's a lot going on in this bed. There's not a lot of empty ground space in here. But I mean, there's some, but not a lot. And in the back, along this fence line, that's where I'm going to plant these sugar baby watermelon. And if they don't grow, no great loss. It's not like I've ever grown good sugar baby watermelon. But we're going to stick them back there anyway. You never know. I might get lucky and get one this year. But I am going to put them along the trellising here. And our hope is that they will germinate and we will grow them up this trellis. I believe the sugar snap peas will probably come out probably in the next month, maybe, if I'm lucky, if not before. And maybe by then, these watermelon will germinate and they can come up behind what's happening in the front of this bed here. Now, the evening sun is over there, so this bed absolutely gets some of the hottest part of the day, or the hottest part of the sun of the day. And I'm hoping, and I'll be cutting back some of these herbs and drying them, and so that will provide even more sunlight to the back side of this bed. And hopefully it's just enough sunlight and just enough water to germinate those watermelon seeds. While I'm back here, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the few weeds that I see growing in this bed. No need to let them get established or anything like that. That sage smells so good, and it looks so good. And y'all, I grew this sage myself from seeds from indoors. And this right here, this chive plant, this is year 3 on this chive plant right here. I relocated it from my GreenStalk to this bed here, and it looks good. It looks really good, and it's flowering. All right, that's it for the watermelon. Let's go plant some more seeds. This is the one area I'm kind of worried about. These are my purple Viking potatoes, and they're getting this red hue and crispiness around the edges of the leaves. Now, I've felt in the soil there are potatoes down there. The soil is damp, it's not too wet, it's not too dry, but none of these look too good either. So I don't know what's going on with them. I think Purple Viking is a mid-season potato, I think. I feel like it's a little too early for them to be dying back. But they don't look diseased unless that's what this red curl and crispiness on the leaves really mean. I'm not sure. But the potatoes are really too small, I think. Or maybe just the ones on top are too small and there's some bigger ones down in there. But, I mean, they bloomed like they were supposed to. The blooms died back or I pulled them off. But they just don't look so good. Of all of my potatoes, these are the ones I'm most worried about, and I love my purple Vikings. So hopefully they'll hold on for about another month or so, hopefully. But if not, we will dig them up and we'll see what's going on underneath. All right. In this space right here, I have some fencing to protect what I'm getting ready to plant in here. And I am going to direct sow some Morris heading collard greens. And I have them growing in a few other places as well. But the Morris heading variety of collard greens didn't germinate very well, very early in the spring. And in this area I'm in right now, I'm actually in the shade, and it's the afternoon, which is a great thing because that's when this hot evening sun comes in over here. And so I know this will be protected from the hot evening sun. So I'm going to go ahead and plant some more collard greens right here from seed. Now, collard greens are cool season crops, but I've had really, really good luck with my collard greens lasting pretty much all season long. The only thing that takes out my collard greens typically is I don't pick them often enough and they go to seed, or the bugs take over. And I think we can get some collard greens right here, y'all. And so I am just dropping the seeds right on top. I've already added fertilizer to this area, so it's already fertilized. And then we are going to put some fresh Happy Frog soil on top. They don't have to be buried very deep. I think a 1/4 inch is what it says. There were cauliflower in this space before. And now we have Morris head and collard greens in here. And that is my favorite collard green. So I'm hoping they germinate and we can get even more collard greens. Now, I'm still eating last year's supply of collard greens, but again, I'm trying to grow for more than just my family, and I want some others to enjoy it as well. Now, we'll plant something else. As I mentioned, I have to keep stopping because it's so hot out here. But we are right beside where we planted those green beans. And in this space here, we had kohlrabi. We've pulled all the kohlrabi up. And now we're going to plant Korean radish. And I believe, oh, this seat hot. Ooh, sitting in the sun, now this seat's hot. We're going to do Korean radish over here. And then we're going to do 1 square foot of carrots. So let's get the Korean radish in first. And y'all, the Korean radish gets big. I mean, I'm super excited. I've already been harvesting it. I'm hoping that I can get a few more Korean radish this year. Maybe I can get enough to go ahead and make some kimchi. I don't know. We will see. But we're going to grow 1 square foot of the Korean radish. And I believe last time I put them about, it looks like 4 to 6 inches apart. So we're going to try to space them out where they grow nicely like they did in that other spot just over there. I'm being very intentional with my seeds here. I don't want to have to go back and thin them out. So that's why I'm trying to be very intentional. And I think they only go in, what is a 1/2 inch? Yep, 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to push them down, 1/2 inch. Cover them just a little bit there. And you don't have to be exact when it comes to your seeds. You know, you get them as closely as you can. Seeds want to survive. They will find a way to survive. So if they're not exactly right from a depth standpoint, don't worry about it. It'll find a way. All right. And now we're going to move down and plant about 1 square foot of carrots. Last year I had corral carrots in this bed. Now this bed is, I don't know, what is that, 8 inches deep, I think is what I bought. 6 or 8 inches is the wood, but I've been growing in this bed now probably for more than 10 years. So I know the soil goes deep here. So I think I'm going to grow some more corral right here. I brought both of them out, but I think I'm going to put the corral in. Yeah. Oh, I got them growing in a couple places. Maybe I'm going to do the St. Valerie. This is just to remind me that there's something already over here. Oh no, I forgot that I put a zinnia here. All right, the zinnia is going to have to move. We're going to put carrots right here. And that's too many. I always grow my carrots way too close. And sometimes I think about it and sometimes I don't as far as spacing them out. And I could put these carrots in per the square foot gardening method, 1 carrot seed at a time. Y'all, I ain't going to do that. And I know I'm not going to do that. But I just try to loosely spread them out. And then carrots only need like 1/4 inch of soil covering them. I remember, yep, 1/4 inch of soil. But what I'm going to do is just grab some of that Happy Frog and just lightly sprinkle it on here. And then we'll be about 1/4 inch in. So let me go grab some soil and let me get this zinnia out and find a new home for it. So we'll find a new home for this zinnia. And let me get the soil and we will cover these carrots. I have one zinnia and I have nowhere to put it. Let's cover those seeds up. The only thing about this, y'all, I have no protection from that rabbit right here because I've run out of fencing. So the rabbit hasn't been messing with any of the carrots over there or the radishes over there. So I'm hoping the rabbit's not interested in carrots and radishes here. In this space right here, I had cauliflower growing, and I've pulled the cauliflower out. I've pushed back the straw. I've put some fertilizer down. And early this morning, I tried to transplant. You see this? I tried to transplant some of my cantaloupe over here. And that one way over on the backside, that one did pretty good. I had one here, it's completely withered away, and this one has withered away. Now, I watered it in really good, and this morning it was only about 70 degrees when I did that. But it's hitting the higher 80s now, and it's not very happy, and I don't know if it's going to survive. So I'm going to add some seeds as well so we can get them started in this space here. And then depending on what germinates and what survives, I will thin these out so they can go up the trellis. Let me show you the trellising. I've added trellising just to the end of this metal raised bed. And so the trellising right here goes all the way up, and I kind of doubled it up so I can make sure I have plenty of room to grow some cantaloupes into this space here. Now, this trellising, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't blocking anything behind it, and it's not. It's just in between two beds. So this bed here, and the one behind it. So any shading would be right in this space here, which isn't blocking anything. So I am going to plant two different types of cantaloupe here. And at this point, you know, it's just a hope and a prayer that it germinates in this space, or the transplants survive and they grow up the trellis. I will be happy with either of those situations. Honey Rock is my favorite cantaloupe, and it grew so well for me last year. So that's Honey Rock. And Edisto 47, I grew it last year. I think I got one or two of those cantaloupes, but it was good also, just not my favorite. All right, so we got the seeds in, and maybe these will bounce back, but I'm just not feeling like it will. So if these don't bounce back, we got some seeds, and hopefully I can get the seeds to germinate or the transplants to work. So I was going to transplant some collards right here in front, but it's just so hot. I don't think I need to do any more transplanting today. I will do it first thing in the morning and make sure I water it in really good. Now I have one more area that I'm going to move into, and we will get those seeds planted as well. So we are over at the neighbors, and this bed had turnips and turnip greens and mustard greens in it, and I just didn't take care of it. So we pulled them out, and we're going to start over, and I planted them way too thick, way too thick. So we're starting over, and I've added some more of that fencing to keep our little rabbit friend out, so that we can hopefully get these started. Now, this is the most shaded area I have in my neighbor's garden, and it gets no evening sun, only morning sun up to about, I think about 2 o'clock. So hopefully the turnip greens and the mustard greens can be very happy in this space. Now, I am not going to separate these greens. I am going to mix these greens, because when I cook these greens, I'm going to cook them as mixed greens. mixed mustard and turnip greens. So I'm going to sprinkle them throughout this bed here, and hopefully we'll get some more turnip greens. Now, I've been harvesting one area in my garden multiple times, and I think I've already put back about 3 or 4 different meals of turnip greens. I've put no mustard back at all yet, so I really want to get some mustard greens going. And it wouldn't be the first time that I've planted them too thick, because I've done that so many times in the past. I can't see what I'm doing, and I can't remember if I sprinkled in a certain area or not, and then I'll sprinkle some more, and before you know it, I got so many greens that they're just so close together, they're just not happy. Now, that was 7-top turnip. I've done the purple, white, globe turnip greens, and now we're going to sprinkle in some mustard. And if I can't get them to grow now, there's always the fall. So I've sprinkled them in. I usually bury them about 1/4 inch deep. This package says 1/2 inch deep. This one says 1/2 inch deep. So 1/2 inch deep is what we're going to do. Always follow the directions on your seed pack. So I'm going to take some Happy Frog soil, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on top, and we're going to call it good. I had already added some additional fertilizer to this space here before we started. And when I say fertilizer, I'm talking granular fertilizer. Now, this is one bed that I didn't water in before I planted the seeds. So we're going to water this bed in. I do have drip irrigation already in this bed as well. And my neighbors turn drip irrigation on every evening, so they'll get watered again later this evening. So this bed will get watered this evening properly, but that's good to get it going. So that's it for my mid-June planting of seeds, and we planted a variety of seeds, and so we will get to watch these grow and hopefully harvest some good food in the days to come. So thanks for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll know when I'm dropping a new video, which is typically every 2 to 3 days. But I'm traveling for the next 2 weeks, so videos may be a little sporadic over the next couple of weeks. So until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you hang out with me, Kim, at Kim's Cozy Corner. Bye.